Putin shamed as plans for second Ukraine front reduced to Belarus training camp mind game. Putin puppet warns Russian troops too damaged by constant drinking to fight in Ukraine. For full news please visit www.express.co.uk. Belarusian dissident journalist Tadeusz Gichin has provided express.co.uk with a rare insight into Russian military operations in Belarus and why a suggested second advance into Ukraine is unlikely to get off the ground. Comparing the pro-Vladimir Putin Belarusian regime under Alexander Lukashenko to World War II collaborators, Mr. Gichin described any further mass incursions by Russian troops from Belarus in the short term as unlikely. Mr. Gichin told Express.co.uk the Kremlin's recent buildup in the area was simply a mind game by Putin. Asked if Russia is likely to launch another attack from Belarus, the journalist said, "Not in the short term at least, because even though there are some troop movements, it's far from what we had in February or January in preparation for the actual invasion, so it's more of a psyop." Ukrainian military officials admit at this stage is more of a psyop. Mostly Russian troops are coming to Belarus to receive training because they've mobilized 300,000 people at least and they have no training facility in Russia, so they use Belarusian training ranges to train these draftees. Mr. Gichin branded the Russian northern push towards Kyiv in February as a stab in the back by Belarus, as Ukrainian military planners had not been expecting the assault. He told Express.co.uk, Belarus is a basically satellite state for Putin. Belarus has the same importance, for instance, like Vichy France had for Nazi Germany or Hungary or Romania had fought for Nazi Germany. It comes as Western intelligence has reportedly shown there have been high-level talks within the Kremlin among senior Russian army chiefs about using a tactical nuke as pressure on Putin mount amid Ukrainian military gains. Former U.S. General James Clapper has warned the prospect of a nuclear attack by Putin is not as improbable as many believe. Mr. Clapper told CNN, "I am sure there have been lots of discussions amongst senior Russian officers about nuclear weapons and whether they should be used or not, or when. What's missing from all this, or at least what is missing from the reporting that is available accessible to us, is what actually would the objective be on the part of the Russians to use nuclear weapons. What would they try to do beyond what they are trying to do already? Which is using conventional weapons, gradually destroying the civilian infrastructure of Ukraine. I still feel the prospect for the use of nuclear weapons is unlikely but not as improbable as it was before February 24. Last week another former U.S. general predicted Vladimir Putin will lose everything as Russia will eventually be forced to give up all Ukrainian territory gained since 2014. Ben Hodges, who served as commanding general of the United States Army in Europe, has predicted that Ukraine will eventually roll back all of Russia's military gains since 2014, including liberating Crimea. On the other hand, Russian President Vladimir Putin claimed Friday that there was still a steady stream of volunteers wanting to join the Russian military, with 318,000 people already mobilized. Authorities previously said the goal was to mobilize some 300,000 reservists. Putin said 49,000 were already in the army on combat missions, while the rest were still being trained. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said Tuesday that 87,000 were deployed to Ukraine. The discrepancy could not be reconciled. Putin also signed a law Friday permitting the military mobilization of those with expunged or outstanding convictions, including those who have recently served time for murder, robbery and drug trafficking. Reports suggest that many of the mobilized reservists are inexperienced, were told to procure basic items such as medical kits and flak jackets themselves, and did not receive proper training before deployment. Some were killed within days. After Putin's order, tens of thousands of men fled Russia to avoid serving in the military.